Okay, welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, so that means that we are doing personal mastery in the Life of Wisdom's chats. So Wisdom's has 6 programs. These are stepping stones, not to tell you what to think, but to give you resources to think. And it goes from attitude, initiative, inspiration, and those form the core of what we call personal mastery: attitude, initiative, inspiration. And then the more business side of it, although leadership obviously is also part of personal mastery, but it's leadership, entrepreneurship, and business mastery. So we do business fundamentals on a Thursday, and now, but on Tuesdays, we're focusing on personal mastery. And today, the topic is we become what we think about most. And I want to start off by sharing my screen, and I just want to prompt our thinking with some slides. And so here we are. We become what we think of most. And so just by way of, so we're going to do it slightly differently and maybe not just go from person to person, but just to start off with, and then we'll come back to what you've thought about sharing. But I'd love to just get your initial thoughts that when you see this image, what is prompted for you in your thinking, and what do you see that stimulates an idea or a thought for you? And anybody can go. Just unmute and off you go.
I don't really understand the image because I don't see what it's trying to portray, because it seems a bit strange. And it also seems to me to be sexualized. If you look at the picture, so those are my initial thoughts, as confusion and perhaps, why is it the person is dressed as they are? So there you go. Trevor might have some more on this because he's the surfer amongst us.
Sure, Edward. It's interesting what people see in an image, isn't it? It's so fascinating. For me, I see that she is completely one with the water. For me, it's not even about surfing because I know absolutely nothing about surfing. But I just look at that absolute engagement and lostness in her face that says, I am completely in my zone. I'm completely in my environment that speaks utterly to who I am. So that's what I took. So I'm just, anybody else just want to make a comment?
Sure, I will. I don't see either of those. I see releasing yourself from any type of confusion, uncertainty, not necessarily toxicity, but anything that may hold her down, and that she's releasing herself from that, and coming into her own and able to navigate the water on her own without baggage.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. Trevor.
Yeah, so I think this is the privilege of anyone that has been deep in the surf, in big surf. For me, my interpretation is that she's in the water. She's actually looking to get underneath this breaking wave as it was breaking. And this, to anyone who's been brought up in the surf, is absolute heaven. Look at the color of the water. I mean, if you talk to any surfer, and I think this girl is a world champ, or was a world champ going back many odd years ago. I can't remember her name. But anyone who has been brought up in the surf or has lived in the surf this is a dream. You just want to live this lifestyle for the rest of your life, because it's one with nature, and this nature can be violent and it can be forceful. And this is what it's demonstrating to me. This is the ultimate dream of a surfer, to be out there in great conditions. It looks as though it could be a good tube ride if she gets the next one going there. And so she's probably thought all her life, this is what she wants to be doing, and she's doing it right now. So in terms of the context, we become what we think of most. She's probably living her dream lifestyle in that moment right now.
Okay, I'm going to move on. So thank you for that. So here we go where our mind takes us. And again, just, what does the word say? What does the image say? How do you interpret this for yourself?
I'll go. I think I have two monitors, I beg your pardon. That life is always changing, and it's not about the goal, it's about the journey. And the way that his feet are positioned, or her feet are positioned, that it's wherever we lean into, or reserve ourselves to stay back. For example, to fail forward. If you fell forward, that's okay, because none of us learn to rock or run without learning to crawl first. And maybe there's a limbo kind of. There's his back foot is like, I want to stay back where I was at, and maybe this one, the top foot, the one moving. See, that's the thing. I don't know if I would imagine that he or she's moving forward because of the nature of the feet, the way they're positioned. In limbo, should I do what I did because that's when I'm going to get what I got, or do I make a different shift? And I'm just a little scared with that foot. You get a little scared, hesitant, and just in limbo, like, you're going to go forward. Are you going to fail or are you going to fall? Yeah, just that vacant space. Maybe there's like that hang time. That's the word.
Yeah, brilliant. Edward.
Yeah, it interests me, this, because I'm off to London next week for a week's holiday, which is a strange place for me to go because it's a city and I'm a country boy. And one thing I'm going to do is go to the South Bank, which is where the skateboard park is, and all the big skaters, or boarders, where they call them, hang out there. And it fascinates me how people get so much pleasure out of it. But it's not me, because it's the built environment. But I know, just like the surfers, they really love it when they're doing it. And here he's obviously on a built ramp. So you need a built environment to enjoy that particular sport. So it's not me, but I kind of understand that these guys get it. And there's a whole culture around it, isn't it? It's the way you dress, the language you use, and they get totally immersed in the whole thing. It becomes, and I met a lady the other day on a networking event, and I've known her for some time. She's a cybersecurity expert. She's very detailed in what she does. She does all these iOS 5000, whatever they are, things. But the chance remark I discovered in her youth, she was a skater girl. And when she started talking about it, you could see the passion, even though now she's moved away from that world. She's a surfer now, but you could see the passion. So yeah, people do get really caught up in whatever it is that makes their body move. And I think it's all about body moving, isn't it? It's not about cerebral stuff. So that's my thoughts about that particular picture.
Anybody else want to make a comment?
On behalf of all skateboarders and surfers, to actually have someone say this is not about cerebral stuff, So listen, let me just add in here, because this is really dry land surfing. And I remember the days of us making our own surfboards over 50, 60 years ago, at least own skateboards, where we used to strip down roller skates and build skateboards like this. And these have just, the technology has grown and grown into the point where I wonder, has skateboarding been taken up as an Olympic sport? If not, it must be close, because it is such an extreme sport today that it's as big as you see these actual skiing competitions where they come down these various tubes in the ski that is set up for these guys. And this guy for me has got absolute control. To control that board as he's doing it right now, he's in the midst of total control, and there's a huge element of danger in the way that these skateboard parks are actually set up. And in fact, I heard someone talking about what do people want in townships and these sort of developments. I mean, there was a time in suburbs where skateboard parks were the big thing because it allowed youngsters to actually get out there and demonstrate their skills on skateboards like this. But it's a highly technical game. And if I can, please, just to add in here, this concept of you go where you think of most. With folks here, I've demonstrated a picture of my mate and I in a river in flood. And why it means so much to me is because there are a ton of metaphors out of it. And people often ask, because this picture was posted into a major club and in Graham Pope Ellis's factory. I mean, he was the doyen of canoeing worldwide. And he had our picture on a huge mural on his wall in his factory, just to demonstrate the power of canoeing and what it can be done. And people have always asked us wherever we're in a meeting session, but how the hell did you miss the rocks? And as I was thinking about this topic, that picture came up again. We were not focusing on the rocks. We were just completely focused on the flow of the river and following the river. I don't believe in the moment we even thought about the rocks when we were doing this in full flood, which is what makes it a most phenomenal picture. So I just wanted to share that, that the topic of you go where your mind towards the direction of what you think of most is also about that which you focus on is where you actually end up. I think they are related. So I hope that just adds something into the discussion.
Edward, please go ahead.
Just wanted to confirm, skateboarding is an Olympic sport now, and the UK has just announced its youngest ever Olympic competitor. I think she'll be 13 years and 11 days old when she competes in Tokyo. So I think it's fascinating that particular sport has brought the Olympic thing right down to teenagers. And he's barely a teenager.
And Ed, if I can put in, do yourself a favor, have a look at this BMX mountain biking and what they do in the Alps. And then go and have a look at a skateboarding competition and see what they do. The skill involved is absolutely phenomenal. And then in snowboarding, I mean, they're all related type of extreme sports. So you put snowboarding, skateboarding, BMX bike riding, which is probably old fashioned. They've got new terms for it now. And surfing are the related sports that are absolutely extreme sports that leave people on a cerebral high. Who was it said there's nothing cerebral about the sport? I want to find that guy. I'm going to write him a note.
But by that, I meant sitting about thinking about things rather than doing things.
Yeah. So
the other sport that might be similar is that, and I can't remember the name for it. It was just old age. That running parkour, where you run and jump off buildings and do amazing feats. That's incredible as well.
So I know, and I'm going to come back to you, Jasper, because I see you've unmuted, but I just wanted, this is Edward, you spoke about outliers, that so often we look at outliers, and I think maybe that should be our topic for tomorrow. But we look at people who are in these extreme sports. And I've got another picture that sort of is not an extreme sport, but it has a similar vein. But it's something that we couldn't get to that point of feat without the mental agility, the courage, the focus that enables you to trust and believe that you can actually push the boundaries to this point, and go. So it's that belief, and then but also going with the flow, and that your mind is the one that actually enables you to follow that path and to trust that if I go there, I will make it. So that's the power of that. Jasper, what is it that you'd like to add?
No, I just want to be more difficult today. I was prompted by your statement that your body goes where the mind takes it. And I remember vividly, I was a youngster riding my bicycle down a street. And as I was going in this direction, I saw something in a window over there. So my mind was at the window, but guess what I did? I started to steer away from where my mind was. And the next moment I was hit by a bus, and I woke up, and people said, "Are you all right?" And I said I was all right, but I didn't know how it happened, but I was driving in front of the bus. But what I'm saying is, and look at people when they drive on a road, they look to their right, they tend to veer to the left. So what do you do with that phenomenon?
Edward.
Yeah, you might shoot me down in flames with the next, and I think that's a very good point that Jasper made. You might shoot me down in flames with your next slide, but this talk is about business mastery. Okay. And about business something, wasn't it? Well,
personal mastery.
Personal mastery, but I think it's part of an overall series around business, isn't it? If you look at the cultures we've just been talking about, none of them focus on money. They're all almost anti-establishment cultures. So I just found it strange that you should choose those, or we have chosen those as examples. Just throwing that in to be awkward like Jasper.
Love wisdom's chats.
Lee, I'm not going to fall into the trap that Edward has actually opened up here. I'm going to go back to Jasper. And I think what you're alluding to there is in framing your question of why that happened, I think it's something that goes on in the mind. And that's the difference between response and reaction. And almost I'm getting, oh, you see, now Laura knows exactly what's, this is her special skill. So let me give you the layman's perspective on this, and then Laura can come in. And I think what Jasper brought up for me is that when he looked right at something happening on there, he had a reaction to it, which took him away from it. But when you're actually in deep thinking about what it is that you want and what you want to focus on, I think the mind goes to response. And that's how you get into flow. Reaction seems to be a shock, but response is a well pre-planned modus to actually, like we were in the river. I knew we were in the flow and I knew exactly where I wanted to go. I wasn't looking at the rocks. I wasn't looking at the reflection in the mirror that suddenly came out at me. So I think it goes down the subject of response versus reaction, but Laura is better qualified to actually answer this question than I am.
Well, that's very kind. I mean, I think about like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Is it a reaction or a response? Is it automatic, or do we choose on how we are going to behave? So when I think about, okay, I'm 18 years old and I go on a whitewater rafting trip, and the boat, the raft flips over. I lose my shoes. My shoes get sucked off my feet for the whole weekend, right? Well, in the meantime, I'm thinking about what am I going to do for the rest of the weekend. In the meantime, I'm in the water. I'm flipping around like a fish. I can either go with the flow of the river, go with the flow or fight it. I'm reacting and I'm fighting it, or I respond saying, okay, I'm aware. I like what Trevor said, it's almost like a premeditated, for lack of a better word. It's a plan out. This is how I'm going to respond in the moment. I expected this to happen, and now I'm educated in the sense that I'm aware of what the possibility was, because I planned for this. If I plan that something's going to go wrong, because something's going to go wrong. Didn't go wrong. That's the way of life. That's the way of the universe. That's the flow. Ebb and flow, ease and grow. Ease and flow, grow and grow. You fight it. It's like a dog with two dogs with a pull toy. You're with the dog, you're holding the pull toy. Gotta react. Gotta re on it. That's not fun. How about this? How about this? One with the universe. Because the universe is one, verse is song. If we just go with the flow, then it's ease and grow. I'm done.
Poetry, Laura. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So let's give Tabiso a chance. Tabiso, the topic, believe it or not, is we become what we think most about. So we become what we think. So share a little bit about your insights, and then we'll turn off our videos.
Okay, from as early as, you know,
Sorry, Tabiso, we're not hearing you.
Yeah, he's struggling.
Tabiso's really struggling to hear on and off.
I also want to add just on to Jaspers' challenge that he put to give us a hard time on this personal mastery section. When you go to advanced driver courses where they put you through a wet skid pan, the general reaction of a driver to a slide is to actually try and pull away from where you're sliding. But so that's your general reaction, to move away from where you think the danger is. But really the right way to actually do it is to actually turn into what you think the danger is, to turn into the slide, and that helps your wheels to actually gain traction, and you can get into the flow of the road and the flow of the direction or the force of the vehicle, which tends to be I think just another practical example of where Jasper was. He was perhaps in reaction mode as opposed to being trained and responding to go into what other people don't go into. And it's all about experience. It's all about training. It's all about being ready for whatever the dangers may present themselves with. And that's what I believe surfers, skateboarders, skiers, snowboarders are all trained for the dangers they face. Even those guys who jump across blooming buildings, they are amazing, but they've understood what the dangers are and they are prepared for them in their extreme sports. So those guys on BMX bikes and that sort of thing as well.
I think runners too. I mean, I can only speak for I'm sorry.
Go.
I used to run. I mean, I've only done maybe 6 marathons, and I know there are certain things that I know how to dress only to the extent of that I prepare for it. And I mean, if I'm going to do a speed day and all I got is hills, well, that's speed training in disguise. So I used to know how to, when I used to run, to prepare for it based on the weather. What clothes do I wear? And I know the difference between carrying with me toilet paper versus a paper towel. Two very different, the same thing, paper, but two very different makeups of the same material. Very different when there's sweat and rain involved, when you need it to do what you got to do with it. I'll just leave that at that.
Thanks, Laura. Go for it, Edwin.
Isn't self-deprecation wonderful? I've only run 6 marathons. Most people haven't even run one. I was going to make the point that when I did some mountain biking, I took 1 or 2 lessons from a youngster. And the key thing he told me was, when you're approaching a danger, don't concentrate on it. Because if you think about it, you're going to hit it. And his thing was, you need to look ahead. Your mind will see the danger and your body will deal with it. Then you want to be looking further ahead to where you want to be going, not right close to you. And I think that's the thing with this subject. We need to, we become what we think about long term rather than what we concentrate on short term. Because if you look at that route as you're going down the hill, sure as hell you're going to hit it and you are going to come off. And his final shot to me was active body, dancing mind, because you need to move your body around on the bike depending on what the bike's doing, and your mind needs to be active all the time, so it's picking up those signals. But it is, if you concentrate too hard on something that's close to, you're going to hit it. So it's a bit strange, isn't it? Because Jasper wasn't concentrating and he hit the bus. If you concentrate on a big rock you're coming to on a downhill section on your bike, you're going to hit it. And it's the same when I did some running along, the closest I've ever come to parkour, when I was running along some rocks on the seashore. As soon as you turned your mind off and just let your body cope with it, and just looked ahead to see where you were going, then you succeeded. As soon as you try to concentrate too much on what you were doing, I suppose you reacted rather than responded. So yeah, those are my kind of 2 pennies worth. And yeah, Laura, well done on your 6 marathons, because that's something to be very proud of.
Thank you. The thing about that is that I wasn't in ease and flow. I got to the point where I was competing against myself, because I wasn't Paula. I wish I were. No, actually, now in hindsight, I don't. At the same time, I was competing against myself and I didn't enjoy the training. The goal is the goal. So I can work towards a goal. I can spend a certain number of years in college. I can spend 6 months training for a marathon and totally miss the journey. And when I get to the goal, it's like I'm coming up to the stage and I'm getting ready to shake the hands of the dean or the provost, saying, "Congratulations, Dr. Cobb." I'm like, "Yes, I did it. This is great. I won," or whatever. I passed the finish line, whatever it is, I made it. And then the 16th second comes and there's nothing. Like, what? That's it? Where's the parade? If I miss the journey, what's the point? The goal is a finite period of time. So for example, if I'm walking down the street and I fall down a hole, where'd that hole come from? The next day, I'm walking down the street and there's a hole. I see the hole. I fell down the hole. I walked right into it. The next day, I'm walking down the street. I see the hole. I decided to take the same route. I fall down the hole. The next day, I don't know, I'm still kind of badly bruised up. I see the hole. I'm walking down the street. I still fall down the hole, but I'm aware of it. The next day, I'm walking down the same street. I see the hole, I walk around it. Okay, I missed the hole. The next day, I take a different route. I'm not gonna fall down that hole. That's how I prepare for my day. When I live, I learn. If I don't learn the lesson, then what's the point? It's the point of the journey. Don't live for the 16th. Live for what's the 16th second. If you're taking the journey just for the sake of obtaining the goal, then you miss the whole meaning of life. It's not a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Myself. So
I thought we left Lee speechless then.
Sorry, yeah. I just wanted to, and Jasper might still have something to say, and sorry to be so that you've been in and out. But I'm not sure if this is the goal or the journey, but I also just loved this, because here is somebody who is combining both skill, practice, courage, flow, grace, goal setting, purpose, and is caught in a moment, in a single moment. And so I think there are those, when we talk about you become what you think of most, when you create something with your mind, that there's this poignant place that you can reach, where everything, your body, your mind, your spirit, your journey, your goals, the work that you've put in, everything comes to that place, and it feels like flying. And then I just wanted to end with this, just this lovely picture. At where does it start? Where does it start? So we have come to the end of our time. Is there anybody, Trevor, you might have something to say, but I do want to just make sure that Jasper hasn't got any comments that he wants to make. You're okay, Jasper? So Trevor, final words.
It brings two things to mind. You're almost raising, and for me, the focus is on think now. And if you're not thinking about anything, in other words, if you've got no particular goal or dream or mission in your mind, what the hell's going to happen? Nothing. So that's the one thing. And then the other thing it raised for me again is the importance of having dreams and goals, and no matter how small, just to put them into your mind, so that you can actually test this proposition. If I push myself a little bit, will things align to get me in that direction that I want to go? And it doesn't matter how small your goal, put something in there that you can spend your time thinking about instead of non-entities and rubbish. And that's the direction that you actually go in. Just as you were talking about this, my mind had those thoughts going through it.
Thanks, Trevor. Tabitha, I'm so sorry that we weren't able to hear you. So I'm hoping that maybe some of the things that you spoke about, you sort of thought about sharing today, you'll be able to bring into our conversation tomorrow. Because I think let's pick up this idea of, what do outliers teach us? That's how I'm framing the question. What do outliers teach us? So let's if that's okay as a topic tomorrow, shall we call it a day, and then you can come share your great insights with us tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.